Have you ever wondered where the law draws that invisible line? You know, the one between a peaceful protest and a full-blown riot, or between a special interest group and a criminal gang? It is such a fine legal line, where our right to gather bumps right up against the need for public order. Today, we're going to walk that line together. Let's dive in.
So this is the big question, right? When does a group of people become a crime in itself? And the answer, well, it's not as simple as you might think. The law has to look way beyond just what a group is doing. It digs into their intent, who the members are, and even what they're carrying. We're about to dissect the two key legal ideas that help draw this crucial line.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about this delicate balance between our rights and public order. Then, we're going to break down exactly what makes an assembly illegal, and then what makes an association illegal. After that, we'll put them side by side so the difference is crystal clear, and we'll wrap up with why any of this actually matters in the real world.
Okay, before we get into the nitty-gritty of any specific crime, we have to get our heads around this fundamental tension the law is constantly trying to manage. Seriously, picture a set of scales. It's this non-stop balancing act between two incredibly important, and yeah, sometimes totally conflicting, values in any free society.
So, on one side of the scale, you have the right to gather. This is the lifeblood of free expression, of social change, of community. But on the other side, you have the state's absolute duty to maintain order, to protect people, and to prevent chaos. The laws we're about to explore, they are the legal tightrope stretched between these 2 points, defining exactly where and when a group steps off and crosses the line.
First up to the plate, the illegal assembly, covered under Article 146. Now, I want you to think of this as a recipe for a crime. A prosecutor can't just point at a crowd and say, that's illegal. No, they have to prove that very specific ingredients were mixed together in just the right way to create a criminal act.
And here they are, the 3 core ingredients for our recipe. First, you need the act of gathering itself. Second, you need the criminal purpose behind it. And third, you need the presence of dangerous conditions. Let's break each of these down one by one.
First ingredient, the act. This is the easy one. It's just the gathering, a meeting of people. It doesn't matter if it's a crowd standing still in a plaza or a march moving down a street. If people are together, boom, this first part of the recipe is met. Now for the second and absolutely crucial ingredient, the intent. Think of this as the poison in the pie. A crowd of people is just the crust, but if the whole reason you baked that pie, the purpose of the gathering, is to commit a crime, then the entire thing becomes toxic. The goal itself has to be criminal.
And the law is particularly worried when the goal is to incite these specific, very serious offenses. We're talking treason, rebellion, sedition, and assault on people in authority. Now, any criminal purpose is illegal, but these are seen as a direct threat to the very foundation of the state and public order.
And finally, the third ingredient, the dangerous conditions. This is what makes the whole thing go critical. The gathering officially crosses the line into a crime if 1. People show up armed for that criminal purpose, or 2. The crowd is actively being whipped up, incited to commit one of those serious crimes. It's all about the presence of dangerous tools or the use of dangerous words.
So let's say we have all the ingredients for our criminal recipe. The dish is cooked. Now, who's legally responsible? Well, the law is smart about this. It doesn't just treat everyone in the crowd the same. It looks at the different roles people played, kind of like the different chefs in a busy and, in this case, criminal kitchen.
And this chart lays out that whole legal hierarchy perfectly. The organizers, the head chefs, they face the biggest penalties, up to 10 years. Attendees who brought weapons, they're looking at up to 6 years. And the unarmed attendees, up to 6 months. The law is crystal clear. It places the most blame on the people who planned the whole thing. Now here is a really critical legal shortcut you need to know about. If you show up to one of these gatherings with an unlicensed firearm, the law automatically presumes you're a leader. Think of it like a barbecue. If you're the one who shows up with a professional-grade trailer-hitch smoker, you're not just a guest. Everyone assumes you're the pitmaster. The law does the same thing. A serious illegal weapon implies a serious leadership role.
Up to 10 years. Just let that sink in for a second. That's the maximum for an organizer. This tells you the law doesn't see this as some minor public disturbance. No, it sees this as a grave threat to public safety, and the penalty absolutely reflects that seriousness.
Of course, not everyone gets the same sentence.
Things can get a lot worse if illegal firearms are floating around or if violence actually breaks out. But things could get better for you if you can prove you had no idea about the criminal purpose or if you were just a passive bystander, not cheering on the incitement.
So, how do you defend yourself? What are the legal exit ramps? Well, the main ones are proving you genuinely had no clue about the criminal goal, or that you were forced to be there, or that your presence was just a complete accident. You're essentially arguing, hey, I was not a willing participant in cooking up this criminal recipe.
Okay, time to shift gears. We're moving away from the recipe for a single criminal event and onto the blueprint for a whole criminal organization. This is Article 147, and it covers illegal associations. We're not talking about temporary gatherings anymore. We're talking about lasting structures, built from the ground up for a criminal purpose.
The guilty act here is fundamentally different. For an illegal association, the crime is the very act of creating it, leading it, or even just being a member of it. Get this, the crime is committed the second you join, not when the group actually does its first illegal thing. It's the organization itself that's the crime.
And an association's purpose can be illegal for two big reasons. The first one is obvious, if its goal is to commit any crime. But the second one, this one is much broader. It's if the group's purpose is contrary to public morals. This is a powerful catch-all phrase that can be used for all sorts of groups that are seen as harmful to society.
And just like with the illegal assembly, the law is very specific about the different roles people play within an illegal association. If we stick with our blueprint metaphor, you got the architects who design the whole criminal enterprise, the foremen who direct it, and then the workers who just carry out their tasks as members.
And this chart just shows you how stark that difference in legal liability really is. You can see the law holds the architects, the founders, directors, and presidents way more accountable. They're the masterminds. Mere members, the workers, they have a much lower level of liability, but they are still breaking the law just by belonging to the group.
And here are the exact penalties. The leaders are looking at not just prison time, up to 4 years and 2 months, but also a hefty fine of up to 200,000 pesos. A regular member, on the other hand, faces a maximum of 6 months in prison and no fine. The message from the law is pretty clear. We're coming after the leadership to dismantle the organization.
The defenses, those legal exit ramps, are similar here. The main argument is that you just didn't know the true illegal purpose of the group when you signed up. Maybe you were tricked. The other major defense is coercion, that you were threatened or forced into becoming a member. Both of these are all about proving you weren't a willing part of the criminal blueprint.
Okay, so we've explored the recipe for a criminal event, and we've looked at the blueprint for a criminal group. This next section is all about putting them side by side to really hammer home the crucial distinction between these two concepts.
All right, quick recap. An illegal assembly is temporary. It's a one-time thing, a single event, where the crime happens in that moment.
An illegal association, in total contrast, is permanent. It's an organized structure with a long-term illegal goal. Here, the crime is the organization's very existence, day in and day out.
And if there's one thing you remember from this, let it be this comparison. An illegal assembly is basically a criminal flash mob. It pops up quickly for a single, disruptive purpose, and then it dissolves. An illegal association, on the other hand, is like a criminal secret society. It has structure, a hierarchy, and a long-term mission. It's built to last.
This table breaks it all down one last time. An assembly is a temporary event, focused on an immediate act, like a riot plan to attack a courthouse. An association is a permanent structure, focused on a long-term purpose, like a syndicate formed to run illegal gambling. Recipe versus blueprint, event versus organization.
So we've gone pretty deep into the legal code here, but let's pull back. Why does any of this actually matter to you as a professional? Believe me, understanding these distinctions is not just some academic exercise. It has huge real-world implications.
Look, if you're a manager, you need to know about potential liability if your employees organize a walkout that suddenly crosses a legal line. For journalists, the difference between calling something a protest versus an illegal assembly isn't just semantics. It's a matter of legal accuracy with immense social impact. For community organizers, knowing these rules is absolutely essential to designing events that are both powerful and lawful. And for public administrators, this knowledge defines the exact moment when the state can legally step in. And I want to leave you with one final thought to chew on. These laws, they were written for a physical world of town squares and meeting halls. But today, so much of our organizing happens online. So the really challenging question for our time is this: how do these concepts even apply in the digital age? Could a Discord server or a Facebook group be considered an association? Could a coordinated hashtag campaign on Twitter be an assembly? The law is playing catch-up, and how we answer those questions is going to shape the future of both free expression and public safety.